Simon & Schuster Audio presents Counting Sheep, Reflections and Observations of a Swedish Shepherd by Axel Lindén. Translated by Frank Perry. Read by Peter Noble.
Introduction. It feels rather long ago now, the time we lived in Stockholm. Initially we thought of the move out to the country, to my parents' farm, as a project, as a period when we would be doing something different. Maybe even as a longer kind of holiday. Several of my colleagues at university, where I taught literary studies, had received a grant of some kind to do research abroad a couple of years after completing their doctorates. That sort of thing. At that time there were several of us who became aware of the environmental crisis and the impending catastrophe. What's going to happen when water fails to come out of taps, electricity from plugs, or cash from dispensers? I was also starting to think about global patterns of resource flows. I realized, of course, that the world was unfair, but I hadn't really thought about the direct connection between high and low standards of living. The conclusion I drew, a bit hastily perhaps, was that the only way to seriously tackle the threat to the climate and global injustice, while also making sure of the bare necessities when it all came tumbling down, was to start growing our own food and chopping our own wood, and getting some sheep. The whole idea was completely absurd in the situation I found myself in back then. I lived in a flat, commuted to work, pretended to be aware by going to political meetings and vegan restaurants. The best thing we could come up with when we used to talk about making a difference was to write an article or start a Facebook group. My colleagues and I might convince ourselves that we barely contributed anything at all to economic growth and consumption, although this sounded a bit hollow when the salaries we received were spent in full on luxuries and indulgences. But there was something that appealed even more, a vague and yet powerful feeling. I wanted out, to be outside. In Stockholm, I was like an indoor cat. Everything I needed was in packages, served up in boxes of one kind or another. I was domesticated and made passive, never experiencing any
Sample complete. Ready to continue?